We're really pleased that Jane and the library very kindly had us, because we were here for a talk Dean did the other day. We went, well, we've got lots of poetry. We're not really well known for poetry, but we do have a poetry book that you can buy. And we did that after about 30 years worth of performances where we had odd poems in between. So we have now quite a lot of poems. And we made it so there were some from so there are some from Ladders and Footprints, which was a show we did about Passmore Edwards. I don't know, how long ago was it? 2017. So the beginning is a little bit of a homage to Passmore Edwards, and then there's a little bit of what are we going to do in the future. So we have quite a lot of people who couldn't be here tonight because they're unwell, and we maybe would have that's good to know. We might have live streamed, I'm not that organised. So we are going to film it, and then we'll put it out later on. So, you know, a lot of what we're talking about is access, and so a lot of people can't get out late at night for various reasons. So we're going to show the film to them later on, which will be really nice. The other thing we have, which we're quite sad about, is that we haven't got any sign language. And we're having a whole conversation, and we're very interested to have that conversation with people about BSL, about sign-supported English, about Makaton. You know, how do you get your work to be accessible? The whole world thing, but we also want to open up that world about sign language. And really, personally, we would like to see it taught in schools from an early age, so that we all have it as a basic. If we just have some basic, and like having a foreign language, hello, goodbye, you know, how are you, all that sort of thing, it's really important. Okay, I think that's it. People are going to sort of introduce their things as they come. So the first bit is going to be a little bit with music, because we can't quite take dancing out of it. We sort of try, and then I was like, just stick a few dances in. So the first one is, and also I was thinking about poetry, and thinking, well, lyrics are poetry, aren't they? And Eddie wrote a really sweet song which has quite a good bit about the history of Passmore Edwards in it for the 2017 show. So I'll just pop that on, and if anyone wants to dance to it, they can, and then after that we'll do a poem. Thank you.
Building the ladders, building the buildings, climbing the ladders, building the buildings. Ooh, just dance. Ooh, just build, 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 build. Just. He was a gentleman and a philanthropist, son of a conqueror, born in that corner. He was a gardener, there was some money away to build a hospital, to build a library. Ooh, just dance. Ooh, just build, 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 build. Just. Climbing the ladders, building the buildings. Climbing the ladders, building the buildings. Just build.
John Passmore Edwards. In the beginning were the spoken words, and in the days gone by they leapt from ear to ear. Humankind learned those stories well, passed on to everyone. And then the world began to write. Some conveyed ideas in this new form. Some inscribed their dreams and plans. Others were excluded from this secret code. since those in power sought to hold the reins. However, wise people intervened, and education became the key, to read, to write. So thank you, our friend John, newspaper man, and let me shake you by the hand. Brick by brick the libraries grew, page by page were books devoured. The ordinary men and women climbed those lofty ladders to reading rooms and free libraries for the poor, giving hope and self-esteem. A gift once given, a treasure trove inside.
So when we first did Ladders and Footprints, this was thinking about, how amazing it would have been to suddenly, be living in Cornwall in a really small community and then have access to all of these amazing stories and books, and how that would have been, the impact of that. A library. A library is a blueprint. Stories collected so that when the world falls, you remember why. Old, dense, heavy, black-bound and worn, I fell into those books, into the space that opens between petalled pages. New worlds, people, journeys, hearts and songs. The words were welling and dancing through my skin, filling me with such yearning and awakening my wild heart. Pages formed and gathered to tell the tales of all things past. Broken, tangled poems ripe with love, sprinkled with pollen and sea salt and cinnamon and spices so rare. Tales in jeweled languages longing to be retold. Remembered pleasures beyond my world. Calling down the stars to listen. Each story connected to another, like tendrils of smoke. Magic fell out of those pages like fine dust, and I called greeting and danced. A dizziness, queer and good, filled me, and my soul was full of quiet. It was good.
Performance that we created in 2017, Ladders and Footprints, which we did here, didn't we? It was specifically for him, and we took it other places. One of the things I was really interested about John Passmore Edwards was how he put lots of money into hospitals and convalescence homes, and that sent me on a bit of a trail, and I came up with this poem called Pink and Red. Pink and Red. Pink is the carbolic soap that scrubs with distinctive smell, lather and suds. Red is the heart with rhythm and beat that carries the blood from head to feet. Red is the blood on the blade of the knife that severs the flesh to save the life. Red is the stain on the sheet on the bed that cradles the body and caresses the head. Pink is the palm of the hands that tend, helping the body to heal and mend. Red is the rawness of skin which itches, fingertips rubbing a line of stitches. Pink is the sugar mouse from the corner sweet shop, a get-well gift to enjoy post-op. Red is the wound that weeps, infected, the doctor's attempt to fix, rejected. Red is the fire that burns from within, the fever that heats and spreads over skin. Red is the rose with uplifting scent, whose petals descend when bloom is spent. the mouth that delivers the words. Sorry, passed away, all others misheard. Red is the white of the eyes that cry, for this is the time to say goodbye. Red is the ribbon tied in the hair, tangled, dishevelled and worn without care. Pink is the carbolic soap that scrubs with distinctive smell, lather and suds. Red is the heart, no rhythm, no beat, that carried the blood from head to feet. Sort of typical Shallal fashion. We're going for something quite serious, and then we're going to go into something completely different. So this isn't a poem, but it was part of the Lads and Footprints show. So when I was researching from Dean's wonderful book, all about Passmore, I was researching about hospitals, and I was really excited by this group of women, the Ladies' Guild of Charing Cross, who made lots of garments for the new hospital to be opened. So this, I think I'm going to need Miles in a minute. All right, you can hover over there. We're waiting for your exciting entrance in a minute. Okay. But I'll get this ready. But I love this. We've got bookshelves acting as ordinary shelves. I'm just going near somebody different. I'm going to put this on top. Right, okay. So this is the Ladies' Sewing Circle. Good afternoon, ladies and gent. Thank you all for attending this most special meeting, and I am sure you're all as excited as I am. Before we welcome our special guest, let us reflect upon the task we have undertaken. Some months earlier, we were merely ladies who lunged, choosing to focus on the finer things in life, some may say the fanciful and frivolous. Inspired by the words and actions of Mr. Passmore Edwards, we became women on a mission. Women on a mission, that's right. Women on a mission. Thank you for joining in. Women on a mission. And so we are now united as Sisters in Stitch. Sisters in Stitch. More familiar with a pastry fork, who would have guessed just how nimble with a thimble we could be? Ladies and gent, we have reached our destination, for we have sewn the entire 100 flannel garments to be worn by the patients of the soon-to-be-opened Charing Cross Hospital, funded by our inspiration, Mr. Passmore Edwards. Oh, I do believe our guest has arrived. Please give a Ladies' Guild polite welcome to Mr. John Passmore Edwards. Please, and would you hand the garment? Yes, Lauren, that's you. The first garment, Mr. Passmore Edwards. Thank you very much, Lauren. Beautiful handiwork there. That's lovely. Thank you. And, you can assure you that the other 99 are on their way, of course. Right, yes. Before we undertake refreshment, a little surprise for some of you of our most loyal members. The award for the best buttonhole stitching goes to someone whose fingers are never at a loose end. Yes, it's you, Mrs. Fortescue. Next, the award for the neatest of seams goes to someone who has dedicated their life to faith and devotion and knows the correct use of a flat iron. It's the Reverend Peeves! And finally, perhaps the most coveted award, the most pleasing cup of tea. Some clues. It is Darjeeling with a slither of lemon, served in the finest of bone china, rimmed with gold, and with the spoon facing east. It's Lady Middleton Darcy! And now it is indeed time for tea.
up our community.
who lit up our communities.
He is like the lighthouse
He's like the lighthouse
at sea,
at sea,
building hospitals
building hospitals
and libraries.
and libraries.
He was our biggest fan,
He was our biggest fan,
that man.
that man.
He gave money with generosity.
He gave money with generosity.
He had plenty.
He had plenty.
Thank you, Moore.
Thank you, Moore.
You're passing more and more.
You're passing more and more.
Mr. Passmore.
Mr. Passmore.
What is this man
What is this man
who gave us ways to read and write?
who gave us ways to read and write?
And opportunities that were big and bright,
And opportunities what were big and bright,
declining and knighted,
declining and nighted,
with such modesty.
with such modesty.
And brick by brick,
And brick by brick,
the buildings were built,
the buildings were built,
to stand on the ground
to stand on the ground
and not sink into silt.
and not seeking to silt.
It makes people happy,
It makes people happy,
more and more.
more and more.
Thank you, Mr. Passmore.
Thank you, Mr. Passmore.
Medical things. Yeah, so this year, when we listened to Dean's talk this year, something I picked up on that I don't think I've really read about before was how John Passmore, he spent some money on some drinking water fountains. So that was my kind of inspiration for this year. So this is called The Grand Opening, Water for All. We had the day off school today, but had to wear our Sunday best. Miss made sure our shoes were clean and that Sam tucked in his vest. I had a ribbon in my hair and Eliza had a new hat. Joseph wore a fancy bow tie, but Jimmy shouted, look at that! The building work was now complete. At crack of dawn, they swept the street. The square was closed to cart and horse, in case the horses pooed, of course. The crowd grew bigger as time went on, everyone excited for the big switch on. Edward John Passmore was coming to our town. Passmore, John Edward, or the other way round. The man with the long beard whose name is carved above the door. He made lots of money on making newspapers and books, and then spent his money on libraries filled with books. Miss said he's an example of doing good deeds. He's built buildings called museums that have all sorts of strange things like minerals, extinct animals and weird creatures with wings, and art galleries where you can see real paintings of the painted real sea. When Mr. Edmore Password and his wife arrived, everyone clapped and cheered. We knew it must be him for real, for he did have a very long beard. The mayor gave a speech, giving thanks to lots of folk, before Edward John Moore stood beside his gift to us and spoke. He said that clean water was free for everyone, including the faithful friend of man, the dog, and declared the public drinking water fountain open. I declare this public drinking water fountain open! He turned the tap to start the flow. The crowd cheered, but the water did not show. He tried again, and so did his wife, and the mayor held his ear against the pipe. The crowd started sighing, and then chatting, and then yawning. We waited for ages, and actually it wasn't quite boring. But better than spelling and arithmetic, I began daydreaming and imagining. I thought about water. Where does it come from, and where does it go, and what would happen if it stopped and all ran out? The ladies would raise their glasses to Mr. Passmore Edwards and get merry on sips of imaginary sherry. The grocer's cart would carry the rattle of empty lemonade bottles. Children's cheeks would be jam sandwich stained. Tin baths would no longer smell of soap. Stinky Bill's feet would forever stay unwashed. Our swimming lessons would be on land, babies baptised in fonts of holy air. Where are the puddles? No puddles to splash in. Where is the pond? The frogs have all gone. The wishing well would bring no luck. The plants would wilt, the flowers would weep, the cows would not moo, the sheep would not bleat, the ducks would not paddle, the boats would not float, the sky would be dry, and everyone would cry teardrops like raindrops. And people would say, do you remember the rain? And have you ever felt rain? I hear banging, then silence, then hip hip hooray! The fountain is flowing with water, fresh and clean. We take turns to have a drink. It takes a very long time. But as I wait, I see Joseph's tie has come undone and realise I've lost my ribbon. I think about never being thirsty again and just how many times we'll say, meet you at the fountain!
things are changing over time. And when we came back to Passmore Edwards this year, I had another look at the piece I wrote then about one of his buildings. And, well, you'll see at the end, but it's not the end when libraries close, which is very encouraging. Once there was a library. 1900 it was, the year that I began, and one short year later, in 1901, I welcomed the people through my doors. Oh my goodness, I was magnificent. Everyone agreed. Created by a forward-thinking philanthropist, I even had electrical wiring built into my walls, ready for when the electrics would become available to me, though gas lighting was the norm back then. I was created to provide recreation and learning for those men who spent their days lounging around on the local streets, somewhere that they could find the answer to any question, or lose themselves in tales and stories. A bastion of information, my friends, that is what I was. My doors were closed in 1928, but not for long. I reopened in 1931 with a new space for the young, a juvenile library hidden around my side, as well as a reading room which offered shelter from the elements for those who needed it, and a wonderful hall which showed moving pictures each week. I was truly a place for the masses. Everyone visited me back then. The men would bring their ladies to the movies. Women would bring their offspring to learn in the children's library. I was popular in those halcyon days. The times change, and the people stopped visiting me. My doors were closed for the last time in 2004. Then I stood boarded up and vacant. People stopped visiting me. The other day, a couple walking by stopped to read the words on my facade, which proclaims the Passmore Edwards Limehouse District Public Library. I wonder who this Passmore Edwards is, one of them said. Hold on, said the other, pulling a small device out of his pocket. I have my phone, I'll Google it. And in those words, I felt a fear for the future of my library family. Today, though, again, I am transformed. I have a new purpose. I am now a safe haven for college or university students, so I continue to give shelter to those who seek education. And I am glad. Once, though, I was magnificent. Everyone visited me.
Time ago, you called a tree. O tree of life, giver of life, blessed are the birds that share your branches. O sunlight, flickers of your dazzly leaves of golds, reds and browns, yellows and greens. O fruit that waits to appear of mellow fruitfulness. Trees are friends all that dwell, the creatures, the animals. Rejoice, rejoice to the sound of the birds, singing in the dawn air. The beat of wings like flutes, harps, trumpets, played by fairies and angels. Sing, O majestic choir of voices that touch the sky with spirit.
This is basically the vision that I think Passmore would share with us with our today's kind of crisis with the environment. So it's called Silent Voice. voice of nature. You're in the micro and the macro. I see you in an insect. I see you in a bird. You're the face I see when I listen to the noise of the trees. You're in the mud and in the morning dew. You're the love that I feel when I hold you. You give me sweet-scented flowers and honeybees and everything that I can call me. You offer yourself unconditionally to your human family. Softly you walk with grace in the face of our devastation, with no judgment upon us two-legged ones. I'm sorry that we have not listened to your voice's wisdom. And perfectly, we need to see, for eyes and ears are blinded. It's the heart sense that holds true vision. Silent voice of nature, you cannot be for profit. You are symbiotic. You take only what you need and want only what you take. You have a purpose and a reason, even your chaos has meaning. Like the stars, birthing and dying, they might look the same, and dark matter is needed as much as they. I think that we have forgotten that we too are symbiotic, but we take more than we need, and we want more than we take. Nature, you are our gauge, to balance our human ways. Without you, we could not remain. Without us, you are free.
I don't often get to share my poems. I don't know why that is, but I write them and they don't seem to have beginnings or ends. But I think these few little fragments, I was interested in, well, for one thing, like that Passmore used communication and he used all the media that he had, that he could sort of use newspapers or speak to people. You know, he had a way with words, and how that comes to the now, that we're surrounded by words, we're bombarded with listening to words, and we have libraries and they're full of words and they're full of information, and anything we want we can discover. So I was interested in how we find the words that we want to write ourselves, how we find our own story, and what words we listen to. If we listen to words other people say, or whether we listen to what's inside us, or whether we listen to the quietest voice in nature. And there's always things that you can hear, and they could be words, they could be not yet words. But this is sort of my own, comes from what I feel about how you find your own path, and how you sort of make your way through all these things, and where it takes you, and how you find your own story, what your own story is. That from the source, the beginning, word, writing, spinning tales untold, may yet unfold, unlikely as they seem. The secret way I follow, where stag vanished, I tasted salt and smoke. My choice to make, fir cones I gathered, my fire burns bright to let me work, to make, to mend, with that which I find. With dawn early dew I stretch, I spin energy to warm my blood, swim in the cold, my eyes awaken like burning stars. By noontime they narrow, the world a bright haze. Time to swim again, renew the deep gaze, searching from possible ways. Renew the yearning, cool the brow. Echoes rise and rise, the voice cries, wood upon thermals ride, the small circle and the great, a voice small, the echo dies. My heart feels noise, the wind is wide, noise in my head, wind in my heart, I hold my cries inside. forgetting my familiar world among unfamiliar lands. I find unknown how many footsteps to make the journey, to find my way following only the hidden signs that I learn to recognise, where I keep my thoughts alighted, to not let them fall by the wayside. The newness of strange unknown I give moments to behold, thus my mind is lift the cup, a draught I drink, wit echoes wise.
So with my other hat on, I'm a nurse, and I'm also a farmer's daughter, and my family have lived in Cornwall for a very long time, and hundreds of years. He cut us in half for granite, and I became very thinking about Passmore Edwards and what would he do now? How would he help our Cornish communities? And I really had to tussle with some of the thoughts that I was having, because I felt a deep sense of grief, so some of the damage that was happening to Cornwall, and some of the disconnection that I was seeing in the way that we treat people sometimes within the NHS and in our communities, and how can we build that connection again? How do we build the connection with the land? How do we build a connection with each other? And so this formed a poem. The hour is late, much falls away. What to do, what to do, what to do? The world is vast, a fingerprint in time, and we are dancing on a spear tip of immense fragility. Power plants, plastic boxes, high fences, square homes, square screens, square lawns, where no wild flower grows. Drowning in the disconnection of never-ending greed. We have lost much. I do not wish to make you comfortable, to make this easy, for we must all be forever changed. We must meet the world with our whole selves, and to those whose love is a bridge to refuge, I call on you. Under this floor was once a lane, and under the lane a track, an animal path, an earthen tunnel of dark veined passages. Hark! Can you hear them? Oh! There were wolves in these halls, gods on the hunt, following the animal path of all things wild, barefoot, bone and claw. Can you feel them? Why do you resist the how? It calls you home. Leave the comfort of your fire, follow the compass of your heart. For the way we see the world shapes the way we treat it, and nature invites you, slip into her lakes, dark green and deep with orange-bellied newts. Let your feet slide over roots of trees that trail over lichen-covered rocks of granite. Feel the world with awe and gratitude and savour every petal and thorn. Let yourself be enveloped by grace, for blessed is this life. Look for the cracks where the magic lies, the chaos of stars. Reach out, grab it, spin it with all your grief for the world, and weave in possibility. For now is the bardo of time, time to sit in silence, to deepen, lean in, listen, truly listen with the depth of your heart, and together we can seek a richness in a threadbare terrain. Plunge your hands deep into the earth of each barren space and ask it, how do you wish to be loved? We can begin one seed at a time. Blue-hearted rosemary, milk thistle, thyme, fennel, alder, oak, hawthorn, dog rose, bramble and nettle. Beguile nature with with gentleness and patience. Play her music full of starlight and chlorophyll and bee pollen. And our planet will spin in the universe with twice the joy. This is the moment. This is the moment. This is the moment. Leaping barefoot, we will let the wildness of nature fill our dance. Bone flute, claw and feather, egret neck, rage of wolf and grief of bear, and like mycelium, nurturing trees, take ancient tattered words and healing touch to build connections across our land. So, where to begin? Where to begin? Where to begin? There must always be three. Who will join me on this path to rewild? Here, now, where the land meets the sea.
Conversations in Shallal, and I don't want to sort of organise anything, but we had the other day, we were saying postcard philanthropy. What would you do now? What was it? Some questions they want to know. What would you do with a building like this in the future? Rewilding ecosystem survival. What does our world need? What does your community need? Positive possibilities. We just would like to give you a postcard, and if you've got any suggestions, we're going to gather them up over the summer, and who knows what we'll do with them. I also know that we have people from different communities that do things. We have activists in the room, so we have, maybe people can put their hands up. Dean put your hand up, so Dean knows a lot about about password words. Do you want to say what you do? Put your hand up.
I'm in Extinction Rebellion, but I'm also starting a climate hub in Troy.
So that's good to talk to, isn't it? And Jay, what do you got anything you want to say?
Yes,
You said you had a poem when you came in, didn't you? Yes. Yes, very quickly. And then we'll have, so then also we have drinks over there, and we have books there, but also help us have a drink and let us make puns. So we'll have Jay's poem, and then we'll hand out these, then we'll write anything for us and have a chat.
Yes, well, I'm interested to hear Passmore Edwards described as an activist, because of course he is. He was, he is, he will be remembered as an activist. And yes, I'm an activist, and for me that is like, being like Passmore Edwards is being involved in my community, because whatever is to come, for me it's about our community, it's about being together and sharing together. Okay, so this poem arrived when I got Joe's post, and it wrote itself. It's a rubbish poem, but I don't know.
It's amazing, I like it. It's that goes to rubbish poem.
Okay, so Monday is May Day. May Day, May Day, May Day, dancing round the maypole. May Day, May Day, May Day. Sailors cry for help. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Seas rising, fires burning. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Can you smell it? Can you see it? Can you hear it? Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Will you call out, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday? Thank you very much.